Whoa, 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 WrestleMania, I wanna get close to you. Whoa, 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 WrestleMania, move your body close to mine. What is going on, everyone? How are you doing? I hope you're doing good, because it is good to feel good. And I'm in a different setup today because, long story short, I left my tripod in Mexico. That was silly of me. I didn't even bring it into Mexico. I'd left it on the plane. Like, I think because it was a long flight, because I was so tired just, going through immigration, I completely, clocked on too late, too little too late, and sure enough, I had left my tripod in the overhead locker on my flight, and I didn't think to, well, I couldn't go back for it, so this is what I'm stuck with until I buy a new tripod. But anyway, besides all that, that's irrelevant to this video. It is WrestleMania season, baby. In fact, it is the most stupendous two-night event in WrestleMania history, as they've been marketing it as. Not as good as the Ultimate Thrill Ride, but, can't have everything, I guess. But of course, this weekend is WrestleMania. As always, I'll be doing my live reactions for both of those. And of course, as is tradition, I am doing my predictions today. So this video, of course, there's all sorts of matches happening up and down the card this year at WrestleMania. There's 14 matches in total, 2 nights, so of course you've got 7 for each night. And I'm going to go ahead and not leave you in suspense, so yeah, let's go and do WrestleMania. Let's predict WrestleMania. So first of all, we're going to kick off with the matches on night 1, and starting off we have Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship, and boy oh boy am I looking forward to this match, mainly for the fact of what happened at SummerSlam last year, and I still think about that and just can we forget that happened? Let this match be like the grand reset. Let this be the match we were supposed to get at SummerSlam last year, because, Becky Lynch returning in itself is a big surprise. Returning to squash someone like Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's Championship was that really necessary? I don't know, probably not, but obviously Sasha wasn't available, so the best compromise, Becky Lynch. Although we nearly had Carmella in the mix as well, but yeah, it just happened as it did. But I tell you what I have really enjoyed is Becky Lynch, going full-blown heel and, embracing her darker side, and, big time Bex has been quite enjoyable to watch, and I've really enjoyed her promos and, her ring work throughout this period. And it's really nice to see the two of them actually finally get this WrestleMania match. And, Bianca Belair has had a real chance to bounce back since that loss at SummerSlam. She was a sole survivor at Survivor Series, she did quite well in the Rumble but didn't win, and then of course she won the Elimination Chamber, and we lead ourselves here. So definitely, logically, I would think to go with Bianca Belair for this, which is what I'm going to do. And now that I think about it, Becky Lynch has never lost the Raw Women's Championship, if you really think about it, by pinfall or submission. Yes, she did relinquish the title to Asuka when she was pregnant, but that, she never physically was, beaten for the belt. So, yeah, just an interesting dynamic. So ever since she won it at WrestleMania 35, then of course her subsequent second reign, she's never been beaten for the title. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see that. Next up we have Rey and Dominik Mysterio versus The Miz and Logan Paul. And if you were to tell me about 6 years ago or something that Rey Mysterio's son Dominik would be a wrestler, and that, YouTube and Vine star Logan Paul would be part of WrestleMania, you probably would have thought I'd be mad. It'd be like, when people are, accused of being a witch. That's probably what it would feel like, and, a massive witch hunt for my head. But that is what we are seeing, and I think it's crazy to think this feud all started about because The Miz was jealous of Rey Mysterio being on the cover of WWE 2K22, and to be honest, I've seen weirder WrestleMania feuds, like, for example, Edge and Booker T, WrestleMania 18, they're fighting over shampoo. That's a brilliant sign, that is. But of course, with Logan Paul being in the mix, I'm not going to make any prejudgments about Logan Paul's wrestling ability. There are going to be those people who are going to be like, why is Logan Paul in this match? Boo, he shouldn't be in this match, someone else should be in his place. Oh, he's gonna be crap in the ring. And honestly, all those, like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, like, you know, reserve my judgments for this match. And honestly, I want to see this match play out. I want to see what Logan Paul can do in the ring. And with that being said, I am going to go with The Miz and Logan Paul to win it. It's crazy to think last year The Miz was part of another celebrity match, and that was of course with John Morrison against Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, and that was actually better than I expected. And I said that, you know, Bad Bunny had set the bar for celebrity matches at WrestleMania, and I guess Logan Paul's got a bit to live up to with this, so let's just see how this plays out. But ultimately, The Miz and Logan Paul are who I've got for this match. Next up we have Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin, and it's weird to see what Drew McIntyre has been doing. Like, the last two WrestleManias, you know, he respectively main evented night 2 for the WWE Championship, and then kicked off night 1 of WrestleMania last year for the WWE Championship, and now he's in this, like, weird feud with Happy Corbin, or, like, you know, it is Baron Corbin, but just, oh, it's weird. Like, honestly, Drew could be doing so much better, but why? Why have you put him with Happy Corbin? No. But anyway, I tell you what I have enjoyed about Baron Corbin in the last year is when, you know, he lost his King's Crown and then he was down on his luck, you know, he was broke and everything, and, you know, he was struggling to make ends meet, and honestly I thought we were going to go for an interesting character dynamic with this version of Baron Corbin. But then, all of a sudden, one night in Las Vegas, and he's a millionaire, and he's, you know, driving around in all these fancy cars, and he's got hats and all sorts. Yes, I wear hats as well sometimes. But it's just a very strange, like, it's very reminiscent of, like, you know, some of the stuff he's done in the past, where it's just like, no, we don't want to see this. But anyway, this feud has been going for far too long, and it needs to come to an end. And with that being said, I'm going to go for Drew McIntyre, because he definitely deserves, you know, a better spot at WrestleMania than, you know, a nothing feud with Happy Corbin. Sorry to say that, that's just how it is. Next up we have the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. And, the Usos have been pretty decent in this last year. Like, they've held the titles since Money in the Bank, and obviously with the assistance of Roman Reigns as part of the Bloodline, they've held on to it pretty much, you know, without any real opposition. And, like, that being said, I don't see Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs as a real proper tag team unit. I know they have been together for a while now. I always think of Shinsuke Nakamura as being better when he's a singles wrestler. Like, honestly, I mean, hell, his stuff in New Japan was great, his NXT run was brilliant, and then obviously since coming up to main roster, like, yes, he's had, you know, singles runs, but then he's been thrown into the odd tag team here and there, and yes, he has won the tag team championship before, but I don't see Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura coming out as tag team champions. So, with that being said, I've got the Usos to retain. Next up we have The New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods versus Sheamus and Rich Holland, and I think what's interesting about this match, I think it was supposed to be a 6-man tag, which would have included Big E and Butch, but of course Big E sadly got injured, but he's doing well, so all the best, Big E, I hope you recover. But then of course Butch, no, he's not called Butch, he's called Pete Dunne, for goodness sake. They did the same thing with Walter, where they renamed him Guntan. It's just no, as I would say to my girlfriend. But yeah, what is it with this habit of renaming, you know, NXT UK champions? What are they going to call Tyler Bate when he comes up? They're going to call him something like Mike Locks or something, and his middle name's going to be Bull, and then have him be, like, you know, a massive fan of cricket or something. I can just picture that happening now. And if the WWE creative team are watching this, do not get any ideas. Just let people be themselves as, like, you know, who they were, like, you know, either in NXT or before. Because as soon as they come up to main roster, just, like, you know, being slapped with these really weird names just doesn't sit well for a lot of people. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. This is going to sound crazy, but the New Day, as a tag team, have never had a victory at WrestleMania. I know Kofi Kingston won at WrestleMania 35, but that of course was a singles match, and obviously won the WWE Championship with that. But yeah, the New Day have never had a tag team victory at WrestleMania, which is crazy to think, because I've been around for a long time. So definitely I would say the New Day to win. Yeah, because it's a new day, yes it is. Next up we have Seth freaking Rollins versus a mystery opponent. Ooh, I wonder who that could be. Now, of course you guys will probably know there has been all sorts of rumour and innuendo about who could possibly be Seth Rollins' opponent. Could it be, you know, the best wrestler in the world? Could it be someone who's recently left another company and, you know, is the hottest free agent? I don't know. But, you know, as I say, all sorts of rumour and innuendo, but I think, you know, I think the mystery opponent is going to win this match. And I think what will happen is he will, like, you know, come from all roads of life and, you know, he's going to give Seth Rollins some kind of nightmares of the American variety, and I think that's what we're going to see at WrestleMania. Like, you know, nightmare of the American variety, you know, being the mystery opponent and him picking up the victory. That's what I think is going to happen. Finally, for night one, we come to Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship, or the Women's SmackDown Championship, as Ronda Rousey lovingly called it, and yeah, I still find it crazy to think Ronda Rousey returned like 4 months postpartum and won the Royal Rumble. Like, you know, that's commendable for her. And, you know, for her getting back into, you know, ring shape for that, and, you know, obviously being on her kind of like return. And obviously she's done bits and bobs since being back, and obviously this match has been set in stone since the Rumble. But I will say that Charlotte Flair in this reign as SmackDown Women's Champion has been just underwhelming. If anything, I always think back to the belt swapping segment when both Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair were drafted to, you know, their opposite brands, but then they had the opposite titles, and then they had to swap them to, you know, make the purposes of consistency. I don't know. But yeah, I just felt like in that segment, you know, Becky Lynch came out better, and obviously since then I feel like Becky Lynch has come out better, but then Charlotte has just not been as exciting, and, like, you know, just the title reign's just kind of dead in the water at this point, is what I'm trying to say. But what I do hope is, you know, they have a decent match this Sunday, and hopefully it ends with a Ronda Rousey victory, and that's who I'm going for. And now we come on to night 2, and kicking off night 2 we have the Fatal 4-Way for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Queen Zelina and Carmella the champions, versus Sasha Banks and Naomi, versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler. And I just think this really highlights the problem of the women's tag team division, is all these teams are all thrown together. I know Carmella and Zelina Vega, they've been reigning as champions for a while now, but they were just, you know, thrown together into the mix, and now they're champions. I just think, like, you know, back to WrestleMania 35, especially, you know, the Women's Tag Team Championship were recently introduced, you had established tag teams in that WrestleMania match, and it's crazy to think, like, last year again highlighted the problem of there being so many, like, you know, thrown together tag teams, and, like, there was, I think the only real established tag team in that turmoil was the Riot Squad, and obviously they're not a thing anymore. Obviously Ruby is flying solo, or flying Soho, in AEW, and then Liv Morgan's now teaming with Rhea Ripley. I tell you what I do find crazy is that Natalya is teaming with Shayna Baszler, who in turn was her opponent last year when she teamed with Tamina, who in turn was also her opponent when she teamed with Beth Phoenix back at WrestleMania 35, so they're definitely not going to win. But if I do have to pick a winner, it's between the two face tag teams, and I think I'm going to go with Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. I feel like they've been, you know, doing quite nicely. I really like their entrance dynamic where Rhea Ripley goes for the stomp, and then Liv Morgan just stomps both her feet on the floor. It's nice stuff, and I think, you know what, that would be a nice, you know, victory for both of them, and especially if that will be Liv Morgan's first ever title victory, if I'm to be corrected. So yeah, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan to win the SmackDown Tag Team Championship? Yes, please. Next up we have Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn in an anything goes match, which is basically, there are no rules in this match, and it's crazy to think how we've gotten this match. Like, obviously I thought this was all just going to be, you know, part of the Rumble, you know, promotion for Jackass Forever, But ultimately, it stretched out to WrestleMania, and I've got to commend Sami Zayn for making this feud seem important, you know, get people interested in it, because I know, again, it's a celebrity match. But like, I'd be interested to see what Johnny Knoxville does, although I'm worried that he won't be able to do like loads of stunts, especially considering, like, you know, considering he's recently, you know, announced that he suffered brain damage during the filming of Jackass Forever, especially during that stunt with the bull. So I'm hoping, you know, ultimately he's careful with what he does in this match, and hopefully there are some crazy stunts. He's probably going to out Shane McMahon for all I know, so that would be fun. If I have to pick a winner though, I mean, as much as I'd like to say Sami Zayn deserves a win, I do think they'll give a victory for Johnny Knoxville, because why not? Let Johnny Knoxville have his day. Next up we have Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory. This match I'm looking forward to mainly because, you know, Vince McMahon handpicked Austin Theory as his protege, and, you know, obviously Pat McAfee has been like trash talking Theory throughout this, and honestly, I think Pat McAfee is actually a pretty decent wrestler. If you saw what he did in NXT a few years ago, especially the matches with Adam Cole and the War Games match with the Undisputed Era, sorry, not War Games, it's War Games! That was brilliant as well, so it's definitely know that, you know, Pat McAfee is capable of doing a pretty good match, and I hope we get a decent match out of this. So ultimately, I do think Austin Theory will win this though, because I don't really see the commentator, you know, going over and, like, you know, because I just, like, I love Pat McAfee's energy, but I just don't want to see him, like, bragging about it week after week. Oh, I beat Austin Theory at WrestleMania. No, so Austin Theory for the victory in this match. Next up we have a triple threat tag team match for the Raw Tag Team Championship, pitting RK Bro versus the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. And I'm looking forward to this, especially after that match on Raw a few weeks ago that also included Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, and I think it went nearly 45 minutes, so for that to go on that long was bloody brilliant and commendable to the guys who took part in that match. But like, I love, you know, when they do invest, you know, time and effort into their tag team division. So RK Bro, I've really enjoyed this last year as, like, you know, just the old odd couple, and initially being like, oh, can they coexist? Then all of a sudden, like, you know, Randy Orton RKO's Riddle, then decides, oh no, that was just a sign of respect, and then of course they won the Raw Tag Team Championship at SummerSlam last year, held it until Alpha Academy won it, and then of course they won it back on that match at Raw a few weeks ago. And yeah, going into this, I'm really looking forward to this. I've also really enjoyed Alpha Academy, especially Chad Gable finally getting a chance to shine, and the Street Profits always being as entertaining and brilliant wrestlers as usual. So yeah, it could be anyone. Anyone could win it. But if I do have to pick a winner, I'm going to go for the Street Profits, because it's been a while since I've held any tag team gold, and I'm really starting to think that, you know, this could be the beginning of the end for RK Bro, and I hate to admit that, but I don't want to see it happen, but it's bound to happen at some point, and it'd be very, like, you know, sad and depressing if it starts at WrestleMania. Hopefully we don't get that, but hopefully we get a Street Profits victory. Next up we have Bobby Lashley versus Omos in a match that was only just recently announced, and I really don't know what to think of this match, so I'm just going to go randomly and pick Omos, because, you know, he's the big dude now that Braun Strowman's no longer around, and, you know, he's big and dominant, and, you know, he'll probably crush your head like a coconut, but that's just how he rolls. I think he'll wipe the floor with Bobby Lashley. Next up we have Edge versus AJ Styles, and ooh, this is a spicy match. I like that Edge turned heel, but I really haven't really caught on to him, you know, in his current heel run, because it's just so weird and, like, very different from what you're used to with Edge. Like, hell, just have him as, like, you know, his heel self when he was the Rated R Superstar. That could have worked, but, you know, we can't have everything, I guess. But, you know, AJ Styles has also, you know, come back into his own since splitting from Omos, so we could see anything really at this WrestleMania. I hope we get a decent match out of these two, and I hope we get, like, something of a sleeper hit between these two. So if I do have to pick a winner though, I would probably, as much as I'd like to say AJ Styles, I think given this feud, I would probably say Edge. Yep, final answer, Edge. Finally, main eventing night 2, we have Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. WWE Champion versus Universal Champion. Winner takes all. And bloody hell, this is a big one. But it's crazy now that I think about it. This is not the first time a winner takes all match has happened for both these titles, because if you really think about it, they tried it the night after WrestleMania 35 a few years ago, basically off the hype of, you know, the women's main event, which was also winner takes all. And like, while they were going through with it, like in the main event that night, they then decided, nah, we're just gonna have it end in a no contest. And like, even they showed a hype package for like Kofi Kingston's, you know, victory celebration, like, you know, the following night on SmackDown. So we obviously all knew in the Barclays Center that night that wasn't going to happen. I really don't know what to really think about this overall, because Roman Reigns has been very consistent since he turned heel, since he became the head of the table, the tribal chief, and all sorts of nicknames. And honestly, it's been the best run of his career. And I remember saying last year at WrestleMania 37 at the end of it, that I wouldn't be against Roman Reigns holding the title until this year's WrestleMania. And now that I say that, I really don't want to see him lose to Brock yet again. Like, you know, when I think back to that match at WrestleMania 34 that they had for the Universal Championship, like, we all thought Roman was going to win, but then, like, you know, F5 after F5 after F5, I think it was 6 F5s in total that it took to put Roman Reigns away. And now I just don't want to see like a finisher spamming, you know, match between these two. Let these two, like, you know, have a big old, you know, tussle, a colossal tussle, which, funnily enough, was the original name of WrestleMania. But also, just on a quick note, I've really enjoyed Brock Lesnar in his run at the moment. Like, you know, just having a bit more personality, just having a lot more fun, and just him being himself. But then, of course, when he gets in the ring, he's just, you know, the old Brock Lesnar that we're all used to at this point. But that's no problem. But ultimately, I would say with this match, probably the best bet is to go with Roman Reigns, because I don't want to see him lose after so long, and, like, you know, let him have that definitive victory over Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania that he's failed twice to get. So I hope they go with that, and then I hope, you know, it sends the crowd home happy. And Roman Reigns is the double champion. I'd like to see that, actually, now that I think about it. Roman Reigns, come on. We've got to go with Roman Reigns for this. And those are my predictions. What have you got predictions-wise for WrestleMania these years? Let me know. I mean, I will be completely honest. The build to this year's WrestleMania has been hit and miss. There have been some bits I've really enjoyed, some bits I haven't enjoyed, so I guess it's all just kind of like, you know, wait and see to what we actually get at WrestleMania. For all we know, it could be a bit like WrestleMania 31, which the build itself wasn't anything special, but the night itself was absolutely incredible. But I guess it all just remains to be seen, and I will see you guys at WrestleMania. Well, I wish I was going to Dallas for WrestleMania, but maybe next year or some other year. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to leave you here, and I'll leave you with some advice, and that is always to enjoy yourself, stay safe, and make the most of every opportunity that comes your way. Thank you for watching, and peace.